everybody. Wannabe Reviewer here with the Wannabe podcast. This is episode 2. Before we start, I just really wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watched episode 1. I was very nervous last week. I mean, I'm still nervous this week, but I was very nervous with the first podcast. I didn't know how it was going to go, but everyone has just been great to me so far. I'm excited to do this now, hopefully every week, for as long as I can do it. So with that being said, thank you so much. And for anyone who was here last week, you should know that I'm going to start every week off talking about the media I consumed since the last time I was on. But before I do that, I actually want to introduce my guest, because I actually have a guest on here today. My sister.
Hi, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. Hopefully my input will kind of bring this podcast along this episode, and hopefully our topics will be interesting to you guys.
Yeah, like I said, I have my sister on here, and I'm going to be talking about some topics that I know she also has some input on. We'll try to, go back and forth a little bit on them, and with that being said, let's dive into my week. For anyone who was here last week, I said that there was a lot of anime I had watched, and I wasn't going to talk about some of them until this week because I wanted to complete the series before I really discuss them. Now, really quick, just to get out of the way, the first anime I want to talk about is Persona 5 the animation.
Boo.
Yeah, exactly. If you were here last week, or if you've been curious about Persona 5 the animation in general, my opinion on it, and I think my sister shares the same sentiment, is that it's pretty mediocre, honestly. This last episode, I watched it because I was curious how the season would end. And even though these last 2 episodes do fix quite a bit of things, I do feel like they showed more of the confidant stuff, they went a little more in-depth with the fights, that kind of thing. But it's too little too late. What's the point? Why would you finally do it for the last episode? I just didn't enjoy it. I felt like it was very missed potential. Like I said last week, I think you should just play the game instead. And my sister isn't a huge fan of Persona, but even she noticed this,
Yeah, I didn't really keep up with the anime specifically because it didn't really catch my attention, especially since I didn't play the full game, but I did play enough, and I watched my brother play enough to know that the anime wasn't really keeping it at a proper pace or keeping the important details involved.
Yeah, so I said it last week and I'll say it again. Do I recommend this anime? No. This anime is just not worth it at all, honestly. There's maybe 1 or 2 episodes that I thought were fine, but you'll be fine if you play the game, honestly. So with that being said, moving on to another anime that was also disappointing. The next anime I want to talk about is Hanebado. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Now, Hanebado is basically a sports anime that's all about badminton. So, the sport that's kind of like tennis, but you have the little shuttlecock, you're hitting it back and forth.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's a fun game. But basically, like I said, it's a sports anime. It's about badminton, and there's this main character, and she's this girl who's apparently this badminton prodigy, and she doesn't want to play anymore because at first they don't really say why, but later you kind of find out that it's because it's something involving her mom, and, she doesn't want to be part of the badminton club, but her best friend and everyone in the badminton club is you have too much potential and too much talent, you have to join. So she doesn't want to join, they make her join, all right? And also on the badminton team, the other main character is this tall, tomboyish looking girl who feels jealous of the main character because apparently they played in middle school or something like that, and she beat her back then. And since then, she's always been training because she's I don't want to let anyone ever beat me again, right? And so it begins as a very generic sports anime where it's okay, there's a person who doesn't want to play anymore, but they get, convinced to play again, and there's the rival, and they don't want to lose to them, blah, 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 blah. So at first, it seemed very generic. However, what interests me is that it took this turn where, like I said, you find out that the main character, the reason she doesn't play badminton is because she's kind of traumatized because her mom, who's this world level badminton player, basically abandoned her and ditched her after she lost a game that wasn't even her fault. And since then, I guess she's kind of linked badminton with that bad memory of her mom leaving her. And where this gets interesting is that she kind of has this psychotic break when someone from her past shows up. And she turns super aggressive when she's playing badminton. Her eyes basically glaze over and she gets really cocky and kind of she kind of acts like a jerk. And she gets really crazy about badminton. She starts dominating. And basically she starts saying stuff like, last time, mom ditched me, but this time I'll abandon her, blah, blah, blah. And I know at this point, a lot of people didn't like that. And a lot of people were kind of like, okay, she's being kind of a dick. We like her like happy personality, blah, blah, blah. But me, I liked it because that was different. Like all the sports anime you watch are always the same thing about work your hardest and power of friendship. I mean, not there's anything bad with that. There's some pretty good animes with that. But I liked that it was different. It was very interesting seeing this main character that basically becomes the antagonist. And, she was the antagonist to the other girl, like the tomboyish girl. And so it was interesting, it was something very different. I was very interested. Unfortunately, though, I feel like the people who made this anime got to like the second to last episode and they're like, all right, have we been original enough? Yeah. Okay, time to, fill in those tropes. And so the anime just totally goes to crap. It gets totally flipped around so that a person who doesn't deserve to get forgiven gets forgiven, so that the power of friendship ends up becoming a thing and the main character learns to have fun again with badminton, but the way it's done feels super like tone deaf and like really dumb. Really tone deaf and like really dumb. And like the animation gets super weird too, where when she's in like the final tournament, for whatever reason, she's drawn so it looks like she aged by like 20 years for some reason. Like in every other match, she looks like a high school girl. But here, because she's like in like, like crazy mode, for some reason she's drawn to look like a 30-year-old lady. And it's like super awkward. And yeah, I just ended up heavily disliking this anime because I liked that it was so different and it was going in a totally different direction. And the fact that it ended up being so cliche and wrapping everything up in a very unsatisfactory way for a happy ending, it just pissed me off. And the thing that pissed me off the most was like the redemption, the undeserved redemption. And like my sister didn't even watch it, but I was telling her about it and she's like, oh my God, I hate when like Japanese media does this. So
yeah, especially because as he was describing it, I thought that it was a very interesting choice to give the protagonist or the main character that sort of attitude where they aren't really letting themselves kind of be pushed over by something. And not exactly that, but just the fact that they kind of gave that character a different way of behaving in comparison to other main characters. And something that does frustrate me, not just specifically in Japanese media, but in any sort of like show, book, or movie, is when they give a character a very unnecessary redemption arcs, especially when it comes down to something like abuse or sexual assault or something, because that's not how people really work. And you'd expect there to be some sort of development. And how he described it was just like, with like the flick of a button or something, she just went, you know what, I'm okay with what my mom did. And that doesn't make sense because that's not how people work. And even in like a cartoon, the viewers that are watching it don't feel the same way. And that's something that a lot of viewers had trouble with.
Yeah, like a lot of people in the comments section were like so mad. And that kind of ruined the anime for them because it's like, that's not the way stuff works. Like, how do you just forgive somebody, especially when the person, like, never showed any regret over anything? Yeah. That is a thing I believe in, I don't think it's good to hold a grudge or anything. Like, if people do want... It's not
good for yourself or for the other person.
Yeah, like, if you want to change, that's fine. You want to forgive somebody. But when it comes to media, because it's not real life, I want to see someone get revenge. I want to see somebody get pissed off and hold a grudge and tell someone off. Or if they, forgive them, fine, but at least make it make sense. And here it was just so badly handled that I would not recommend this anime. Like I said, it's called Hanebado, and I don't recommend it. I would say honestly skip it because it just goes all over the place, and like the way it ends is just so unsatisfying. Yeah, so that sucked. And it was a disappointment, like I said. But moving on to something that wasn't a disappointment, the next anime I want to talk about, and my sister actually did watch this one too, was Cells at Work. And Cells at Work is pretty awesome. It's a really cute anime. For anyone who doesn't know, Cells at Work is basically like the anime Osmosis Jones. It's this anime about the human body and cells. And the cells are portrayed as like people with different jobs. And the different parts of the human body are portrayed as, like cities or factories or, that kind of thing. And there's not really much to say. There's not very much plot to it because it's basically a Monster of the Week sort of format. But I still really liked it. I thought it was really fun. The character designs and the way they designed the human body was really creative. I thought, I mean, you can kind of call her the main character. The main character, the little red blood cell, she was super cute. You know, she's a
little deformed blood cell.
Yeah, she's like a little deformed, like a little sickle cell. That's why she has like a little cowlick, and that's why she always gets lost. And, you know, she was funny. She was like really like clumsy and airheaded. And the other main character is this white blood cell who's like this like commando dude with the knife going around killing all like the viruses and stuff. That was great.
The perfect man.
Yeah, basically. And like their friendship's really funny because they just always run into each other as they're going about their business. And it's just really fun. Like I said, there's not much to it. It's like a monster of the week sort of thing. Not too much plot, but it's still really fun. And it's actually surprisingly educational too.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say watch this instead of going to your biology class, but I mean, if you're already like taking a biology class and you want to watch this like on the side, like I said, it's actually surprisingly educational. Like every time a cell or a different, you know,
disease
is like appears on screen, like a little thing will pop up that describes who they are and their function within the body, what they do. And so yeah, I mean, it's really good, really cute. Really fun. I recommend it. Like I said, it's called Cells at Work. I know it was on Crunchyroll, so I would say watch it. Speaking of which, another anime that this one's a little harder to find, unfortunately, because this is like a Netflix exclusive, I think. And Netflix always makes it hard because they don't release it on time. And like, it's just a whole mess. Like I had to like jump through some hoops to go watch this. I'm not even gonna say where I watched it because, you know, it was out on the 7 seas of the internet. But it's this anime called High Score Girl. Like, you know, like you know, in a game, like you get a high score. And this anime is probably one of my favorites this season. I'm going to say right off the bat, the character designs and the animation is kind of wonky. The animation uses a lot of CGI, which makes it look a little bit awkward. And the character designs are kind of weird. Like their faces are kind of squished and their eyes are like really big.
I would kind of describe it like a chibi style or something.
Kind of like a chibi style, but not quite.
No, it's like a very simple sort of...
Like, I kind of get what you mean about chibi style, kind of, but not quite. Like, it's weird. Like, as I'm looking at the characters, like, the word that pops into my mind is that they kind of look like a little, like gremlins. Like, I don't know, it's strange, but don't let that, you know, stop you. Because basically, this is a really good anime that focuses on two things. Video games and romance, which is a weird mix. But yeah, it's about this kid, and he's like this total slacker. He's not good at school, and he hangs out at the arcade every day playing stuff like, you know, Street Fighter and, oh my god, I'm trying to remember. Final Fight? Was it Final Fight? God, I think it was Final Fight. I forget. They mention all sorts of games, right? That's the point. But the point is, you know, Street Fighter's like his thing, right? And he shows him at the arcade every day. He's really good. And his life changes when this rich girl from school, who's supposed to be like rich and prim and proper.
The cliche.
Yeah, you know, yeah. She shows up at the arcade. And he's really confused, right? Because like, why would she spend her time at the arcade? Especially because as they show in the anime, apparently like, you know, all the teachers like are always yelling at the kids not to spend their times at a location like that, because I guess it was like really frowned upon, like it was a waste of time or whatever back then. Oh, because it takes place during the 90s, sorry, forgot to mention that. But anyway, so he's, you know, she shows up and he plays her and she totally whoops his ass because she's like really good. Like he finds out that basically any game she plays, like she masters it because she's that good. And at first, you know, they have like this antagonistic thing towards each other because, you know, I think he like cheats. Like, he doesn't cheat, but he uses like some dirty tactics to beat her, and she gets super mad and like punches him or something.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, because he totally just does some like dirty tactics. And so at first they don't like each other, but then as they always like end up seeing each other at the arcade more and more, and we find out that she has like a very strict home life where they don't want her to like have any extracurricular activities. They want her to only study. She gravitates towards him because of their shared interest and his carefree attitude. And from there, it just takes off where they kind of form like this little romance. And it's really cute because it's this romance centered on arcade games and later home console games. Like, and that's the cool thing too, that it shows actual footage of games. Like it shows Street Fighter, it shows Final Fight, it shows Tekken, it shows Virtua Fighter. It shows him playing stuff on his CD master drive, or I don't remember what it was, master drive, whatever. You know, one of those like retro consoles. It shows him at home playing it. And it's just really cool because it shows video games from the arcade and like early home consoles. It shows the different like techniques so that you can tell the people who like are making this anime know what they're talking about, because they talk about like move lists and stuff, which is pretty rad. And there's this cute romance to go with it. And I enjoyed watching it week after week because it's just a really well put together anime. Like their relationship is really cute. She never talks, which is like really funny. She just kind of expresses herself through like you know, gestures and facial expressions. And he's like the only one who understands her, which makes it that much more cuter, you know what I mean? And I recommend it. The only bad thing is that I do not know where you can watch it because, like I said, I think Netflix is the one who's hosting it and they're making it very hard to watch. But if you're able to get your hands on it, or at least, you know, keep your eye on it for the future, it's called High Score Girl. All right, so that's an anime I recommend. From that, the next anime I want to talk about is another actually kind of obscure one this season. It's called Revue Starlight. And this anime was really interesting because I feel like it's an anime that really flew under people's radar. I think it was like an Amazon anime. I don't remember actually. I don't remember where I watched it. But Revue Starlight is very interesting because it's basically about these girls at like a performance kind of like dancing / acting academy.
Yeah.
And the main character has this friend who she hasn't seen in years because she moved to like a different country. And when she comes back, she's really happy because like when they were little kids, they made a promise to perform together in this play. And basically in this universe, I guess that play is like really important and like really famous. And at the end of the year, for like the last like 2 years, they've been putting on the performance of it. And so it's about, oh, you know, friendship and, you know, they're going to perform. And okay, so, you know, that's interesting enough. It's slice of life in that, you know, you see the girls' lives in the academy, blah, blah, blah. But then what makes it like interesting is that there's this underground stage where there's battles and they're hosted by a giraffe, which, yeah, sounds super weird. But there's this giraffe that hangs out, like an actual giraffe too, like not like an anthropomorphic giraffe. It's like an actual giraffe. And he hangs out and he puts on these like competitions where the girls fight each other. And well, at first you hear about that and you're like, oh, so this is going to go like an edgy magical girl route, because that's what all magical girl, ever since Madoka Magica, all magical girl animes go in that direction where they have to be dark and edgy and people fight to the death and stuff. And so when you first see this, you're worried because you're like, oh, this is going to go on that route. But the thing is that although this anime does have some twists and turns here and there, they're like kind of dark, it never gets edgy though. That's the great part. Instead, these fights that they have are more like them performing through their emotions, which is like a weird way to describe it. Like basically the best way to describe it is like if you've ever seen Princess Tutu, which is all about how she performs like ballet and, you know, there's like ballet battles or whatever. It's like that, where these girls, like, they're fighting each other, but they're, like, fighting and performing through their emotions. So, you know, you see the slice of life stuff, and you see the problems they're having with each other, and then they go and they basically settle it on the stage as they're, like, having these choreographed singing / fighting matches. And it was really interesting. Like, the animation for it's really good, and the story is, like, really interesting, too. The fights are like super well choreographed, and it's a weird anime to explain because it's not really like anything I've seen before. Like I said, I can kind of make compared to Princess Tutu, except not even. But it's the kind of anime that I recommend because it's totally different. It's something that you wouldn't expect. It's something that flew under people's radar. And like I said, I don't know where you can watch it, but I would say if you have a chance and you want to see something totally different, you should check it out.
I would want to add on that I'm not somebody that really likes to watch that sort of like magic girl anime sort of thing, especially after the whole trope where they kind of become like these dark, edgy, murderous little demon creatures things, you know? But the way my brother had like described it to me before, I thought that it sounded interesting. I still don't think that I would really watch it just because that's not really like my sort of thing. But it does look like...
Just because it has girls. I've had all like the shirtless boys.
Hey, no. Don't bring me into that whole group thing, okay?
I'm just bringing it up because the next anime we're going to talk about had a shirtless boy that you liked.
Shh, don't bring Tintin into this, okay? Don't bring Tintin into this.
Alright, I'll let you finish your thought. Finish your thought.
So, you know, I think that's interesting how they're kind of playing these characters out. And also, I thought Princess Tutu was pretty cute. So I mean, if they kind of play things through, I think that it's something that like some people are gonna like and others aren't, like myself. And their costumes are pretty interesting from what I
like their costumes when they transform, because they're gonna have their fights. It's kind of like a little like soldier uniform with capes, and then like the fights are like super crazy choreographed, and like, oh man, you gotta watch it. I mean, I know you're not gonna watch it because you suck, but people out there should watch it.
I'll try to watch it then.
Okay, fine. You should try to watch it at least. Yes, but
gosh,
I know. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's fine. We're gonna move on to this next anime where it had your shirtless boy in it that you're excited to talk about.
Plus Ultra.
So yeah, me and my sister, we're pretty big fans of My Hero Academia. We think it's a really great anime, and the season finale was this Sunday that just passed. And I thought this season was really good. And I thought the way they introduced Tintin at the end was really awesome, honestly. Like, you had told me there was going to be this character that looks like Tintin. And when I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, he does look like Tintin. But he's so badass, too. Like, he's goofy, but he's like badass. And I mean, for people who haven't watched the show, they're like super confused. They don't know what we're talking about. But, My Hero Academia, I mean, if you follow anime at all, you should at least know something about it. It's the anime about kids going to like a hero academy. The main character is a kid who didn't have powers at the beginning. Then basically the number one hero who's like kind of...
He's like Captain America of Japan.
Kind of like Captain America / Superman.
And he gives him he basically passes
his powers on to him, yeah. Because he sees that he's worthy and he's like, I'm gonna pass my powers on to you. I think you should be my successor. And yeah, it's a really good anime because unlike other shonen animes, like, I mean, not to like hate on them, but like Naruto or Bleach.
Mary Sue's.
Yeah, where everyone's kind of a Mary Sue, or where there's a lot of like needless filler, or they introduce all these characters that don't get screen time, that kind of thing. My Hero Academia is great because the main character with the green hair, Deku, he might be like the focus of the show, but they give equal amount of time to everyone else in his class and side characters too.
Or at least they try to give.
Yeah, or at least they try to, and it shows as he progresses, it shows all them progressing their powers too, you know what I mean? And the way that like Deku gets new powers isn't like, it's not like Dragon Ball where like, oh, he just powers up for no reason, or like Naruto where like, oh, I have to work hard, and it's like, but Naruto, all of these techniques are basically in your bloodline. That's bullcrap. Like here, you see Deku studying people, writing down techniques, coming up with new moves. It's like really interesting in that sense.
Yeah, I definitely think also, since I kind of read the manga, I try to keep up with it at least. It's something that definitely gets better the more it progresses, especially the way they develop their characters and the way that they don't try to like cut corners or anything. If something happens to one of the characters, they don't just like ignore it or put it off for a very long time. They try to keep that in mind. And, I think that they're really good at also kind of trying to keep things realistic between how people treat each other. And even like...
Oh, yeah. Like he has a rival that's like his childhood friend. It's like a frenemy sort of situation.
Yeah.
And there's a part where, like, if it was any other anime, if it was like, let's say like Naruto versus Sasuke, they just fight. And the way they fight, it's like, it like the whole reason they're fighting is dumb because Naruto's trying to save Sasuke, who doesn't want to be saved. And either that, or when it's like a rival fight, like they never talk. Like that's the thing. People in animes like usually don't talk. But here it's interesting because there's a part where they get into like this argument and like they fight each other and they end up talking and explaining what the issue is. And they come away from it understanding each other and learning something, which is impressive because anime never does that.
And it's not like they instantly become buddies either. There's still obviously like tensions and there's still this rivalry, but at least it gives them that sort of development where you see that they're trying at least to understand and deal with each other because they have to work together in that sort of community that they're a part of.
Yeah, because, as a superhero or whatever, they have to work together to save people. They can't be at each other's throats. And yeah, it's interesting because they actually discuss stuff, they actually talk, which you never see. And I don't know. I recommend Hero Academia if you're not already watching it because maybe you had some reservations about it, or maybe because you saw it and it seems kind of like a little too mainstream to you. Yeah. I would say watch it. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, obviously. Some people, maybe for whatever reason, they're tired of superhero stuff or they just don't like showing an anime, period. But if it's one of those things where you had reservations about it and you're wondering if you should watch it or whatever, I say watch it. It's really good, has really good story, has really good characters, has really fun fights and really fun moments. Like, I recommend it. And I know my sister recommends it too.
Yeah, and also I think that there is a little bit of everything for whoever wants to watch it. There's cute girls, cute guys, there's strong characters, there's a lot of action, but there's a lot of drama, and there's
some comedy and stuff too.
There's a bit of slice of life added into it, and I think that it's just a very well-rounded and very well-written anime and manga. And also the villains have very good backstories to them.
Yeah, that's
they
another
have
thing.
Decent reasons for being
that's
villains.
another thing too. The villains have some pretty good backstories. Like that, there's this guy who's like kind of reminds you of Deadpool with like a black mask, and when you kind of see his backstory, that makes you go like, ooh, that's a backstory. That's messed up, you know what I mean? So yeah, she's right about that too. So
there's quite a bit of sadness. So if you're not ready for the feels, then get ready for it.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I'm glad that you bring up the feels, because this next anime I want to talk about, it has some feels in it. Or I feel like it's gonna have the feels in the future.
You feel the feels.
I feel the feels coming, yes. Basically, this anime is from this current season. We're done talking about the ones from last season. But yeah, it's from this current season, and I'm not gonna say the title yet, but I'm gonna say how I ran into it. And basically, the way I ran into it is that I jumped on a Crunchyroll, and I wanted to see what anime were out already this week. Because like I know JoJo Part 5 comes out this weekend, and you know, stuff like that. But I'm like, okay, what's already out? What's new that I can discover? And as I was looking, all the anime kind of had boring portraits. But then there was one that drew my attention. And the reason it drew my attention... my sister's looking at me because she knows what I'm talking about. The reason it drew my attention...
You pervert.
Sort of, yes, I'll be honest. The reason it drew my attention is because it has this picture of a girl in a bunny outfit, alright? And I'm not gonna lie, that's my aesthetic, alright?
And not just any sort of bunny outfit, like a Playboy bunny outfit with the tights, the bunny tail, and the ears, everything, okay?
Yes, okay, we get it. But yes, it got my attention because it stood out, alright? And so I was like, okay, what is this? This seems interesting. And as I click on it, the description of the show was not what I expected. It was also very interesting. And so basically, the anime I'm talking about has a super weird name. It's called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. And right off the bat, when you hear that, you're probably like, what? Wait, what? What did she say? Which I know. It has a really weird title, and it probably invokes images of like an ecchi comedy or something, right? But that's the thing. It is not that at all. It's actually this supernatural romance comedy anime, and it has this premise that's super intriguing. I don't know how to even like start, but basically there's this main character, and he's at the library, and as he's at the library, he sees a girl that he recognizes from school walk in, and she's wearing the bunny outfit, right? And he's staring at her because like, yo, what's up? What's up with that? You know, I mean, he's staring at her, like, honestly. But it's really weird because as she's walking around the library, she's kind of doing that thing where she's kind of like standing in front of people, waving her hand, and nobody seems to notice her. And so that's where you kind of go, okay, wait, what is this? Like, where's this heading? And no one notices her, and everyone's ignoring her. And so she stands to the side, and he's looking at her. And so she goes, oh, you can see me. And he says, yeah. And they have like an introduction, you know, he says his name, and he says about how he knows her from school, that kind of thing. And she says, like, forget about what you saw today. And so he's really confused, and, you know, whatever. And later, you know, he keeps thinking about her, and he's wondering why she was dressed like that. We get some backstory into the fact that she's kind of a celebrity. Apparently, when at a young age, she was an actress on TV, and this is like her first year in school in like a while because she had been so busy with show business, and because she hasn't been to school, she's an outcast, and all these crazy things, right? And we learn that, you know, she's kind of like a loner. And he like is getting really interested, I guess. Like part of it's the bunny outfit, obviously, but part of it you can tell is that he's actually like really like feeling for her, because it's like, wow, you know, like she's always a loner. Like, what's up with that? Like, what's her story? So later on the train ride home, he talks to her, and she ends up revealing that apparently she has this weird thing where she can basically turn invisible to those people around her. Which, yeah, like I said, you didn't expect this. This seemed like an ecchi comedy or something. It gets really serious where it's like, no. I got so tired of people noticing me everywhere I went that I started to wish they couldn't see me anymore. And one day, during a 4-day weekend, I noticed that when I went to the aquarium, nobody approached me. Nobody seemed to notice me. I went to a cafe afterwards, and as I talked to the waiter, he like looked right through me. And so apparently what's happening is that it's like this weird, I guess, because she hasn't been, it's weird. Like I feel like it's also like somewhat like part of a social commentary, and I don't know how much this is going to play into the anime itself. But basically because she hasn't been on TV like in like a year or whatever, because she's not in the public eye anymore, it's like she doesn't exist to people. You know what I mean? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's weird. That's where like the social commentary comes in, where it's like, oh, because she's out of sight, out of mind, when people like, it's like people are forgetting who she is. People don't know who she is anymore. They don't recognize her. So that's like the social commentary aspect. But at the same time, it's like a supernatural thing where like literally people don't see her. And the only one who can apparently see her when she's like invisible to everybody else is him. And it's weird because it's like he says, you know, I believe you. Because there's this phenomenon in that universe called adolescence / like puberty syndrome. Whereas kids are growing up and going through puberty, there's like this myth of people gaining like supernatural abilities. And for him and his sister, they experienced something supernatural that involved like a bunch of like random scars on their bodies and like markings. And so that's why he says, I believe you, because I experienced something supernatural too. Like, I don't think you're lying. And so it's really weird the way it ends, where I don't know where this anime is going to go, where people are forgetting her. I don't know if eventually he's going to forget her too, or he's going to be like the only one who can see her. And it has this like sad vibe to it. Like I said, you can feel the feels coming, and it's kind of like a romance. You can tell they're going to have like a little bit of a romance, maybe because of, you know, him being like the only person there for her. And I don't know. It was just really interesting. And it was not at all what the image or what the title makes you think. This anime, I would check it out. It's on Crunchyroll. I don't know where this is heading, but I am very intrigued because it is just so weird. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I would check it out. All right, so that's it for anime. And I just noticed we spent a lot of time on that. So I'm going to try to go through the rest of the week, and I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit because we talked and went really in depth with a lot of stuff. I played a game this week. I played Life is Strange 2, and all I can say about that is that episode 1 is really good. I was really impressed. I really enjoyed Life is Strange 1. I thought it was a good game. When I heard there was going to be a Life is Strange 2, I was excited. And having played this, I continue to be excited to see where the story goes. Basically, it's a story about two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. The younger brother apparently develops, it's not really explained yet, but he develops some sort of what looks like telekinetic powers. And he basically develops it at the worst possible time.
And ends up killing
like a police officer. And yeah, it's just like a whole mess. So they're running away because they're freaked out. They don't know how to handle that situation. And the game is basically them on the run, on their way to their hometown in Mexico. Because, yeah,
it's the safest place for them.
Yeah, it's like the safest place. And it's about the older brother taking care of the younger brother and trying to help raise him, basically, and
coming to terms with what
happened. And yeah, I'm really curious to see where the story goes. This one, I think it's better than Life is Strange 1 in the sense that Life is Strange 1 had a lot of the really hipstery slang and all that.
It was kind of a mess.
Yeah, like I still like Life is Strange 1, but like just like the way they talk could be so annoying because it was like really pretentious and hipstery. And they don't have that here, really, so I enjoyed that. And like I said, the story just seems more emotional because it's about a big brother trying to, like, lead his little brother in the world, and they're running away, and I don't know. I'm really excited to see where that goes, so I recommend looking into that. When it comes to TV shows, didn't watch anything. Most of my time was taken up by Life is Strange and with anime. And I also did not watch any movies this week. However, leading us into the news, there is a movie I want to watch this week, and that movie is Venom. And I don't know. I'm not watching Venom because I'm like a big fan of it. I don't really have faith in it. And it's kind of the contrary. I'm watching it because I want to see if it's as much of a
train wreck
as I think it is. And I'm just curious, you know, and I want to satiate my curiosity. And like I said, that takes us into our first news story, because the news story that I'm going to read, it's all about how Tom Hardy, they were interviewing him about the Venom movie and like what were his thoughts on it. And basically he's like, yeah, my favorite 40 minutes of Venom were cut from the film. So if you were already worried about the movie and if it's a train wreck, that doesn't give you much confidence.
That doesn't sound very good, especially if it's coming from the lead actor.
Yeah, like he says right here, you know, if you read a little farther down, he's like, yeah, there are like 30 to 40 minutes worth of scenes that aren't in this movie. All of them. Mad puppeteering scenes, dark comedy scenes, you know what I mean? They just never made it in. So that's disappointing. I mean, I think I kind of get why, because it seemed at first like the movie might be R, and I know they made it go in a PG-13 direction. So I don't know if maybe that's why they cut a bunch of the stuff he liked the most, because they wanted to tone it down. I mean, that might have been it, but then I don't know, because the producer says, oh no, there is no secret R-rated cut. Tom Hardy's lying. So, I mean, there's contradictions there between one person and the other, so...
Honestly, I think a rated R Venom film would have come out a lot better, because Venom's such a, intimidating and...
Like, look at the picture on the article. He has these razor-sharp teeth, and he bites people's faces off. Like, it would have made sense to go in an R-rated direction.
And they just wanted to dull it out, which... doesn't sound as good.
Yeah, so that's disappointing, and I don't know. Like, if it sounded like a train wreck before, like I said, this doesn't give too much confidence. The fact that the lead actor is like, yeah, they cut out all my favorite stuff. That sucks. So, I don't know. I'm still going to watch it. I'm going to see how much of a train wreck it is. Maybe I'll do a review on it, but it just sounds like the news keeps getting worse and worse. So, speaking of Sony trying to make movies... They just announced that Jared Leto is set to star as Morbius in his own movie, which for anyone who doesn't know, Morbius is this like anti-hero who's this like vampire from Marvel. And apparently, for whatever reason, Sony isn't learning anything and they want to keep going forward with MCU character standalone films, even though they're not tied to any actual like Spider-Man or other big heroes. And so, yeah, we're looking at the image right now. It's a picture of Jared Leto, says that he's going to be Morbius, and I don't know what to think about this. To me, it just once again sounds really dumb.
I honestly think that he might actually do better as Morbius than as he did in The Joker. And I don't know if maybe that's just me hoping that, he might
trying
do
to be
better.
positive. I mean,
trying
maybe.
to be positive, but he kind of looks like him. And I'm not trying to be mean about it, but like something about his face shape and his eyes just kind of fits it. But
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I guess, it's one of those things.
I mean, it's a vampire movie, so.
Yeah, vampire movies have kind of had trouble since
Twilight.
Twilight, and what has he really? I don't know. Stuff has come out since then. And
Blade was an okay movie.
Blade was a while ago, though.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. If they make it like Blade, where it's an MCU superhero type. I mean, it's not going to be MCU, but I mean, if it's like a Marvel, superhero / vampire thing in the style of Blade, I mean, you're right. I guess that could work, but I mean, I guess it remains to be seen. The one thing that does kind of make me laugh is I'm thinking of how Jared Leto, he always likes to, what do you call that thing where they stay in character?
I used to know the term.
Yeah, too. I can't think of the stupid word. But
method acting.
Yes.
Method acting.
Jared Leto's a method actor. So
that's going to be concerning.
Oh my god. So if he was acting like a huge jackass as the Joker, I just want to imagine him being like super, just super creepy and refusing to...
go out in the light.
Yeah, to go out in the light. He'll only want to like film during the night and a bunch of dumb crap. I mean, hopefully he doesn't act like a total jackass again.
Well, I think that he got pretty sick after doing the Joker or something like that, and he was going to try to tone that down.
I mean, hopefully he does, because, I mean, it must suck to work with.
He's probably going to work out a lot, though, because Morbius seems a bit jacked.
Yeah, and I've seen Jared Leto, like, there's a few things where he's looked jacked. Like, I know back when he played, he came out in Fight Club, I think. He looked pretty jacked back then.
He came out in Fight Club?
Yeah, he had, like, a small part. I think. I might be misremembering, but the point is, I'm pretty sure he can do it, so whatever. Moving on, another story that I want to talk about is that if you're tired of remakes and stuff, then unfortunately they're not stopping anytime soon, because Lilo and Stitch has just been announced that it's getting a live-action remake. Thoughts, sister?
Well, I love Lilo and Stitch. I honestly think it's one of my more favorite Disney movies. The only thing that obviously not a lot of people are looking forward to this because nobody honestly asked for it. But what I kind of worry about is if they kind of butcher the characters, maybe not getting like the proper representation for the characters and like their culture and everything.
Oh my god,
that will probably backfire.
Like, can you imagine if like it's supposed to be in Hawaii and they don't get like Hawaiian or like Polynesian actors or anything?
That would be terrible.
Oh my god, that'd be terrible. I could totally see them pulling that too.
I mean, especially because after Moana, people kind of like are really hoping that they do more like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't want anybody to be like aged up. Like you gotta have like a cute little
Yeah,
kid.
it's true. Like
with...
it's like watch Lilo. It's like a 16-year-old played by like Zendaya or something.
I don't think they would use Zendaya.
But I'm just saying as an example. You know what I mean?
Especially because the whole point is that it is an older sister taking care of, this
little girl,
baby child,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be good. Like Jungle Book wasn't Disney, but like the Jungle Book was pretty good, honestly.
I'm worried about Stitch.
Yeah, I don't know how Stitch is going to come out, and I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I mean, for anyone who's curious, you can click the link in the description, and you can see the little story about it. I mean, they're planning to make it live action, so maybe they'll cancel it, maybe they won't. We'll see where that goes, but on to the next story.
Another thing that people haven't asked for.
Another thing that people haven't asked for. Well, I guess some people kind of have. I mean, I know I didn't ask for it. But yeah, basically there was this story by the Wall Street Journal that in the second half of 2019, there might be a new Nintendo Switch model coming. And basically from what it seems, there's not too much info, but basically that seems to mean that similar to how like the 3DS has different versions that are like bigger or slimmer, that kind of thing, I guess they're going to release like a newer, more, I don't know if more powerful or maybe like a better screen version of Nintendo Switch.
The handles look interesting. I think
that's a picture of the Switch now. Oh, God.
I'm missing out a lot.
Yeah, you're missing out a lot. I own a Switch. You can go look at it. It's like in the corner. So
I know, I'm sorry.
That's especially sad. But anyway, I mean, I don't know what to think about this.
Cut that out.
I don't know what to think about this. I'm not going to cut that out. I'm not sure what to think about this because, I mean, I just bought a Switch and I feel kind of mad that they make a new one so soon. But, I mean, I don't know. Like, whatever. I bought a PS4 literally on launch day and I've never bothered, like, buy a PS Pro or a different version of PS4, and I've been fine up to now, so, I mean, I guess I'm fine with my old Switch, I guess, but it just seems so soon. Like, I don't know. Hopefully they don't start doing weird stuff like they did with 3DS, where they favor one thing over another, and I don't know, I guess we'll see, but it just sounds weird. Like I said, no one really asked for this. I feel like they should just put more attention to the system they have now, but...
Or the games.
Yeah, or the games or whatever, but I mean, it is what it is, so... Speaking of Nintendo... there was this really interesting article I wanted to talk about really quick, that there's this report about how apparently elementary school students in Japan, like, I think like 66% of them own a 3DS, and all of them use as their music player, which is like really interesting.
I mean, I kind of did that in middle school. I would just try to download a bit of music onto the 3DS and listen to it at school. Yeah,
there we go. It makes sense because like the way the article says it, since they're elementary school kids, they don't have a phone because they're not old enough yet. And so they just use the 3DS. And, it's kind of funny because I know a lot of people probably even forget the 3DS has like a music capability or like a video thing. It's not really used for that. But yeah, apparently in Japan, it's very popular for, younger kids to use it and to listen to music on it. So I just thought it was really interesting. I just wanted to throw that out there. Another thing that I thought was interesting is that apparently the Twilight Zone is getting a reboot in 2019. And production just started, and the host of the new show is going to be Jordan Peele.
That's going to be a very interesting way of... I think it's going to come out good, honestly. Yeah, Jordan Peele's a really good director.
Yeah, honestly, I can see this working because Jordan Peele, his work on Get Out was really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And when he's played different characters, like in sketch comedies, I mean, he can, be very, serious character, very witty. So I think him being the host sounds cool. And I don't know. I mean, they've rebooted the Twilight Zone series a few times. And I remember I watched the one with Forrest Whitaker, and it was all right. I mean, it seems kind of, I guess, thinking about it, it seems kind of weird because there's so much shows of this style now, like Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And, stuff like that. But, I mean, whatever. I think,
honestly, Jordan Peele will do a really good job, though, kind of tying in that classic Twilight Zone feeling into it.
Yeah.
And, there's some people that don't really like Black Mirror, or I guess you could also say American Horror Story, just because sometimes it's just a little bit too much of the kind of creepy stuff.
Yeah, because that's true, because Twilight Zone doesn't go for gory or over the top. It is a little more
sometimes it just makes you think about stuff.
So I mean, I can see that work. Like I said, I think he's just the host, but I mean, he might be, I don't know if he's, I would have to read through that. Let's see. I know he's just the host, but I'm trying to see... It doesn't say if he's also going to be producing or anything.
It says he's like a narrator and stuff for
Yeah, but I mean, if he also brings some ideas to it, let's say he directs like an episode here and there, like I think it could be good. Like, I don't know, I have high hopes for it.
Yeah.
You know, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm excited for this. I've seen like the Twilight Zone, I've seen like the old 60s ones, I've seen like the ones with like Forrest Whitaker where we're like in the 2000s, and I've enjoyed, you know, it really depends on the episode, but I've enjoyed it, you know, whether it was the old one or the newer one, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. So, like I said, link in the description below if you want to read more about that. Moving on, I had a trailer that I want to talk about really quick. For anyone who knows about SWERY is this really eccentric and really out there video game director that made stuff like Deadly Premonition, Dark Dreams Don't Die. There are games that are like really out there, really eccentric, really, I don't know, they're like really interesting to look at. And basically he had some issues with Microsoft, and because of that he wasn't able to finish Dark Dreams Don't Die. He was only able to make like one episode out of it because it was supposed to be like an episodic thing. And he left whatever studio he was with, I forget what it was called. He made his own studio called White Owl Studios, and he's been working on some games. One of them is The Good Life, which I helped kickstart. You can probably look that up. And the other one is called The Missing. And we were watching the trailer before we started recording this. And yeah, The Missing looks really interesting.
It's also kind of in a different style than his other games. Like,
yeah, because
if you describe his other games, it's kind of like a comic book, kind of GTA sort of like styled. Yeah, like
animation. Like what she's saying, it's like Deadly Premonition looks like a PS2 game. Yeah. Was it a PS2 game? It might have been. I forget. But Deadly Premonition has, you know, more older looking, you know, polygon stuff. And then Dark Dreams Don't Die was like cell shaded. And so this is different again because this, the animation they describe is really, I don't know how to really describe it.
I would kind of just, like, if you guys have ever seen Little Nightmares, the game,
there we go.
That's how I would describe the art style, or the way, at least how it's formatted.
Yeah, and not only the art, like she's right. The art style reminds me kind of Little Nightmares. And because it's described as an atmospheric puzzle platformer, like the gameplay... Yeah, the gameplay is also like Little Nightmares or like Limbo or something.
Yeah.
Where basically you have this character running from like left to right away from like all sorts of creepy stuff. And there's all this weird imagery and they're like doing puzzles and stuff as they're trying to survive and escape. So yeah, that's a good comparison. Little Nightmares or maybe like Limbo or like Inside. It reminds me of like that style of game. And it looks very interesting, honestly. Like if you check out the trailer, it looks really interesting. I trust SWERY to make an interesting game because he's made some really crazy out there stuff before. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to definitely look into it. I think it comes out on the 11th. So I'm going to try to buy it. I'm going to try to get it for my Switch because I just love having games on the go. And for anyone else, if this interests you, check out the trailer. And let's see, what else do we have on the news docket?
Megalobox.
Yes. So the last story we have is that, if anyone remembers, I covered Megalobox on a video. This part, I don't remember how long ago it was. I want to say maybe like 1 or 2 anime seasons ago. So that would have been like a few months. And Megalobox, I really enjoyed it. It's this anime about, it's like a future setting that's dystopian. Everything's really gritty. There's this guy who wants to make his way to the top of like the boxing world. But this boxing world is unique because basically they box by strapping themselves into these metal arms and then they like duke it out. And it's like super like over the top and stuff. And you can go...
It's kind of like real steel mixed with just like human box, like underground boxing.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good description for it. Like I said, if you want more information, you can always go watch my review or look it up. And the story is that there was a tweet earlier... I don't know, the tweet seems like it's kind of old, because right here it says July 5th, but for whatever reason, I know this was trending earlier this week, and basically it's about how I think Viz Media is going to be dubbing...
in English.
Yeah, it's going to do the English dub of the anime, and apparently from like what the... Like if you look it up, apparently it's going to start on December 8th, and so I think that's really cool, because I enjoyed it. I always usually like to see the subs versus the dubs, But I know some people out there like waiting for the dubs. They just prefer either because it's, they understand or they don't want to read, whatever reason. So the fact that it... Don't make fun of the dub people, right? Be respectful.
And the dubs are alright, but you gotta keep it to the classic.
No, I don't know. There's some good ones. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. The point is, it's getting dubbed by Viz Media starting December 8th. And I'm excited for that because I just want more people to watch it. I mean, plain and simple. I enjoyed it. And I think if it reaches a bigger audience, then more power to the show, Alrighty, and that's it for news. And because we're talking about content that I hope gets more attention, it is time for the Content Creator Spotlight. Once again, this week I have, yes, you can applaud. So once again, I have 2 content creators I want to acknowledge this week. The first is one of the bubbliest, most... Yeah, she saw him. She knows what I'm talking about. The first is one of the most bubbly, most, friendly people I've ever seen on YouTube. For me, he's basically Mr. Nintendo because he covers all sorts of Nintendo content. He seems to basically live Nintendo, and that is Mr. Panda. Now, Mr. Panda, kind of like Omeli, I discovered him on the Nintendo subreddit, and his personality just drew me in because he was doing all these reviews similar to me, all these indie game reviews for Switch, but it really drew me in because he just has such a nice personality, and he just loves Nintendo, and you guys have to check him out. He is just a really positive, really nice guy. His reviews are great. He covers so much Nintendo content, and at the moment he has 50 subs less than me, but honestly, I think he deserves to have 1 million subs because this guy is great, and his reviews are awesome, and when you watch it, it just feels great. He's just such a nice, bubbly guy. So yeah, Mr. Panda, you're one of my people I want to acknowledge this week. If you're watching this, keep up the good work, man. And for everybody, give this guy some love. Check out his channel in the description below.
Is it alright if I could just read the little, reading that he has on his channel?
Go ahead real quick.
It's just so cute. So it says, "Welcome to Mr. Panda's channel. I'm Alex, Mr. Panda, and together with my wonderful wife, Tifa, Crystal Dragon, it's our goal to deliver fun and informative gaming content to you." And that's such a sweet, and it just makes you kind of feel welcomed reading it. And the fact that he even kind of brings his wife into his channel is just it's so nice to see that,
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's just a really nice guy. Alex and Tifa seem like really nice people. I know there's an episode where they kind of show a tour of their apartment or a house. I'm not sure if it was apartment or a house, sorry. But they give a little tour and they have all this awesome stuff. And I don't know, they just seem like really nice people. And like I said, I feel like he deserves all the success he can get. And I really hope he gets more subscribers and gets more attention, you know what I mean? He definitely deserves it. Like I said, to me, he is Mr. Nintendo. If I want information about a Nintendo game, whether it's indie game or a big release, I would check out his channel, honestly. He's just that good. Likewise, the next person I want to talk about is also the kind of person that I would go to if I want to know more about a subject. And that person is Jared Buckendahl. Now, Jared Buckendahl, I've mentioned him before. If you watched my review of the Happy Time Murders, I actually referenced him and used a bit of his footage. And Jared Buckendahl is this great movie reviewer. And the reason I think he's special is because he's just such a funny, awesome guy. And whenever I'm watching something on his channel, I'm never bored. How can I describe it? He did this retro review of The Predator. And it was just really funny because he acts like he's back in the 80s, 90s. And he acts like it's all retro. And he's wearing costumes and talking like he's back in the day. And it's just hilarious. And I don't know, the effort he puts into every review is awesome because he does sketches and stuff to go with them. And he wears all these crazy outfits and uses all these props. And like I said, you just never get bored on his channel. Whether it's him doing reactions or whether it's him, talking about movies that are old or new, he just always brings something to the table that entertains you. Just looking at the different thumbnails on his channel, look at that. No one thumbnail's the same. Look at that. He's just wearing all these crazy outfits in every single one. And he currently has more subscribers than me, which makes it feel kind of awkward for me to be giving him a shout out because You know, he has more subscribers than I do. You know, like, who am I to, like, say anything? But the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, if there's someone who hasn't checked him out yet, I think they should. I think they'll have a lot of fun on his channel. And same thing as, like, Mr. Panda. Whenever I want a opinion or, like, a reaction video, I go to his channel because he brings movie stuff to the table that I just enjoy watching, you know? And I think that anyone who sees them can enjoy it too, you know? It's very easy to get into. It's very entertaining. So Jared, same thing. If you're watching this, keep up the good work, man. I think you definitely deserve it. And yeah, that's all I can say. I just want to give a big thank you to my sister for joining me this episode. I know she was nervous. I know she didn't always have input to give, but I still think she did a very great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, a little round of applause for her. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning into the podcast, and I hope that you will all be back next week for episode 3. I will try to have a video up on my channel similar to this week, and I'm gonna try to shoot for Venom, but no promises. And yeah, basically, thank you guys for all your support. This has been Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll catch you next time.
It's not a